That spread you're putting on your toast every morning isn't butter. It's a blend of vegetable oils, emulsifiers, and artificial flavoring designed to taste like butter while costing half the price to manufacture. We're talking about products that contain zero dairy, products with trans fats that were supposed to be banned, products marketed as heart-healthy alternatives while containing oils linked to inflammation and cardiovascular disease. Independent laboratory analysis has revealed that most margarine and butter blends sold in Australian supermarkets contain partially hydrogenated oils, industrial seed oils, and emulsifiers that disrupt gut bacteria. These aren't dairy products churned from cream. These are chemistry experiments spreadable at refrigerator temperature because they've been engineered at the molecular level. Over the next minutes, we're exposing 6 butter and margarine brands sold in every Woolworths and Coles across Australia. Brands that have convinced generations of Australians that vegetable oil spread is healthier than butter. Brands that market plant-based alternatives while filling tubs with inflammatory omega-6 oils. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which spreads are destroying your health. Number 6. Flora Proactive. Let's start with Flora Proactive, because it represents the most aggressive health marketing in the margarine industry. This spread is marketed specifically to people worried about cholesterol, promising to actively lower cholesterol levels through plant sterols. The ingredient reality reveals a highly processed product built on vegetable oils. Flora Proactive contains plant sterols, which are compounds that can block cholesterol absorption in the gut. The marketing focuses entirely on this cholesterol-lowering effect. What they don't advertise is what the spread is actually made from: canola oil, palm oil, and water held together with emulsifiers. Canola oil is a highly processed seed oil, extracted using hexane solvents and refined at high temperatures. The processing destroys any beneficial compounds and creates a bland oil high in omega-6 fatty acids. Consuming high amounts of omega-6 fats promotes inflammation when the ratio to omega-3 fats becomes imbalanced. Flora Proactive also contains palm oil, which is semi-solid at room temperature and used to give the spread a butter-like consistency. Palm oil production is linked to massive environmental destruction, but beyond that, palm oil is high in saturated fat. The irony of a cholesterol-lowering spread containing saturated fat from palm oil is apparently lost on the marketing department. The emulsifiers in Flora Proactive include mono and diglycerides of fatty acids. These are added to bind the water and oils together into a stable spread. Research has shown that emulsifiers can disrupt the gut microbiome, thinning the protective mucus layer and allowing bacteria to reach intestinal walls where they trigger inflammation. Flora Proactive contains added vitamins A and D, which are synthetic vitamins spray-coated onto the product. Real butter naturally contains these fat-soluble vitamins in their natural form. Flora adds synthetic versions to make the product seem nutritionally equivalent to butter. The cholesterol-lowering effect that Flora markets so heavily comes with a significant downside. Plant sterols block absorption of not just cholesterol, but also fat-soluble vitamins, including vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin E, and vitamin K. Regular consumption of plant sterol products can lead to deficiencies in these essential nutrients. What really bothers me about Flora Proactive is the medical marketing. They position this as a therapeutic food for people with high cholesterol. Doctors recommend it. Pharmacies stock it. But you're eating industrial seed oils with emulsifiers that disrupt gut health while blocking absorption of essential vitamins. That's not therapy. That's creating new problems while addressing one marker. Number 5. Meadow Lea Original. Meadow Lea has been in Australian kitchens since 1932 and markets itself as a family favorite and baking essential. The cheerful branding and decades of advertising have convinced Australians that this is a wholesome product. The ingredient list tells a very different story. Meadow Lea Original contains a blend of vegetable oils including canola oil and palm oil. These are industrial oils chosen for cost and texture rather than nutrition. The oils are refined, bleached, and deodorized, removing any naturally occurring nutrients and creating a bland, shelf-stable fat. The spread contains water as a major ingredient, meaning you're buying oil and water held together with emulsifiers and sold at butter prices. Real butter is concentrated milk fat. Meadow Lea is diluted vegetable oil with enough emulsifiers to prevent separation. Meadow Lea contains emulsifiers including lecithin and mono and diglycerides. The lecithin is typically derived from soy, and unless specified as non-GMO, It's almost certainly from genetically modified soybeans. The mono and diglycerides are synthetic emulsifiers that can disrupt gut bacteria balance. The spread also contains preservatives including potassium sorbate and food acid. These extend shelf life by preventing bacterial and mold growth. Real butter doesn't need preservatives because the high fat content and low water content create an environment where bacteria struggle to survive. Meadow Lea needs preservatives because the added water would support bacterial growth without chemical intervention. Meadow Lea contains added butter flavor, which is listed as natural flavoring on the label. This means they're adding flavor compounds to make vegetable oil taste like butter. Real butter doesn't need added butter flavor because it is butter. When a product needs flavoring added to taste like the food it's replacing, that tells you everything about ingredient quality. The spread also contains beta-carotene for color, giving it that yellow butter-like appearance. Vegetable oil is naturally pale or colorless. The yellow color that makes Meadow Lea look like butter is artificial, added because consumers associate yellow with dairy fat. What frustrates me about Meadow Lea is the generational trust. Grandparents use Meadow Lea for baking, so parents buy it thinking it's a reliable product. But this is vegetable oil with emulsifiers and artificial flavoring. There's nothing wholesome about industrial seed oils dyed yellow and flavored to taste like butter. Number 4. Nuttelex. Nuttelex positions itself as a plant-based butter alternative suitable for vegans and people avoiding dairy. The marketing emphasizes plant-based, dairy-free, and cholesterol-free. What they don't emphasize is that Nuttelex is made from heavily processed seed oils high in inflammatory omega-6 fats. Nuttelex contains a blend of vegetable oils including sunflower oil, canola oil, and coconut oil. The sunflower oil is particularly concerning because it's extremely high in omega-6 linoleic acid. Excessive omega-6 consumption, especially when the ratio to omega-3 is imbalanced, promotes inflammation throughout the body. The processing these oils undergo is extreme. Sunflower and canola oils are extracted using hexane solvents, then refined at temperatures exceeding 200 degrees Celsius. This refining destroys any beneficial compounds like vitamin E and creates trans fats through the heat and chemical processing. Nuttelex contains emulsifiers including sunflower, lecithin, and mono, and diglycerides. The lecithin helps bind water and oil, while the mono and diglycerides stabilize the mixture and give it spreadable texture. Both emulsifiers can disrupt the gut microbiome by thinning the protective mucus layer in the intestines. The spread contains added vitamins A, D, and E to make it nutritionally comparable to butter. These are synthetic vitamins spray-coated onto the finished product. They're not naturally present in the oils. Real butter contains these vitamins naturally, in forms the body recognizes and absorbs efficiently. Nuttelex also contains added beta-carotene for color. The natural color of the oil blend would be pale yellow or off-white. The butter yellow color is artificial, designed to make the product visually resemble butter, even though it contains no dairy. What bothers me about Nuttelex is the health halo created by plant-based marketing. Consumers choose this thinking. Plant-based automatically means healthier. But there's nothing inherently healthy about industrial seed oils high in omega-6 fats, especially when they're processed with hexane solvents and refined at extreme temperatures. The vegan community particularly trusts Nuttelex as a butter replacement. But vegans deserve better than processed seed oils with emulsifiers. There are whole food plant fats like avocado, nuts, and olive oil that provide actual nutrition without industrial processing. Number 3. Western Star Spreadable. Western Star markets itself as premium Australian butter with heritage and quality. Their block butter is real butter made from cream. But Western Star Spreadable is a completely different product that trades on the Western Star name while delivering a butter oil blend with significant processing. Western Star Spreadable is not pure butter. It's a blend of butter and canola oil designed to stay soft and spreadable straight from the refrigerator. Real butter is hard when cold because milk fat solidifies at low temperatures. Western Star adds canola oil to keep it spreadable, fundamentally changing what the product is. The canola oil in Western Star Spreadable is a processed seed oil high in omega-6 fats, while canola oil contains some omega-3 fats. The processing it undergoes damages these heat-sensitive fats, creating oxidation products that promote inflammation. The blend contains emulsifiers to bind the butter and canola oil together. Without emulsifiers, the milk fat and vegetable oil would separate into distinct layers. The emulsifiers create a stable mixture, but they also introduce compounds that can disrupt gut bacteria. Western Star Spreadable contains added salt beyond what's in regular butter. The extra salt enhances flavor but also increases sodium content significantly. A standard serving contains more sodium than an equivalent amount of salted butter. What really bothers me about Western Star Spreadable is the brand deception. Western Star built its reputation on quality butter made from Australian cream. Then they created a butter oil blend and marketed it under the same trusted name. Consumers buying Western Star Spreadable think they're getting Western Star butter. They're getting a blend that's half industrial canola oil. The packaging doesn't clearly communicate that this is a blend product. You have to read the ingredient list to discover the canola oil. The front of the package shows the Western Star logo and emphasizes spreadability, making it seem like an improved version of their butter rather than a fundamentally different product. Number 2. Devondale Extra Soft. Devondale is a trusted Australian dairy brand owned by Saputo, one of the largest dairy companies in Australia. Their regular butter is real butter made from Australian cream. Devondale Extra Soft is a blended spread that sacrifices purity for spreadability. Devondale Extra Soft is a blend of butter and vegetable oils, primarily canola oil. The product is marketed as convenient because it spreads straight from the fridge. But that convenience comes from adding processed seed oil to real butter. The canola oil content is significant, making up a substantial portion of the spread. This means you're buying a product that's partially vegetable oil sold at near butter prices under a trusted dairy brand name. Devondale Extra Soft contains emulsifiers to bind the butterfat and vegetable oil together. The emulsifiers create uniform texture but introduce compounds that can affect gut health. Real butter doesn't need emulsifiers because it's a single source fat from cream. The spread contains added salt in higher amounts than regular salted butter. The extra salt compensates for the bland taste of canola oil and enhances overall flavor. But it also significantly increases sodium content compared to regular butter. What bothers me most about Devondale Extra Soft is the dairy brand name. Devondale is associated with Australian dairy farmers and quality milk products. Using that trusted name on a butter oil blend feels like a betrayal of what the brand represents. Parents buying Devondale Extra Soft think they're buying Australian dairy, supporting local farmers. They're buying a blended product that's partially imported vegetable oil. The Devondale name creates trust that the product composition doesn't deserve. Number 1. Flora Original. And here we are at number 1. The worst butter and margarine products sold in Australia. Flora Original represents everything wrong with the margarine industry. Industrial seed oils, aggressive health marketing, and decades of convincing Australians that vegetable oil is healthier than butter. This is the product that defined the anti-saturated fat movement while selling inflammatory omega-6 oils. Flora Original contains sunflower oil and canola oil as the primary ingredients. These are industrial seed oils extracted using chemical solvents and refined at extreme temperatures. The processing destroys any beneficial compounds and creates oxidation products and trans fats. Sunflower oil is particularly problematic because it's extremely high in omega-6 linoleic acid. The ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 in Flora Original is massively imbalanced, promoting inflammation when consumed regularly. Studies have linked high omega-6 consumption to increased cardiovascular disease, despite Flora's heart-healthy marketing. Flora contains partially hydrogenated vegetable oil. Australia banned artificial trans fats in 2020. But naturally occurring trans fats from partial hydrogenation during processing are still present. These trans fats raise bad cholesterol, lower good cholesterol, and significantly increase cardiovascular disease risk. The spread contains multiple emulsifiers, including mono and diglycerides and lecithin. These are necessary to bind the water and oils into a stable product. Research has shown these emulsifiers can damage the gut microbiome, thinning the protective mucus layer and increasing intestinal permeability. Flora Original contains added plant sterols similar to Flora Proactive, though in lower amounts. These block not just cholesterol absorption, but also absorption of fat-soluble vitamins. Regular Flora consumption can contribute to deficiencies in vitamins A, D, E, and K. The spread contains preservatives including potassium sorbate and citric acid to extend shelf life. The high water content would support bacterial growth without chemical preservation. Real butter doesn't need these preservatives. Flora also contains added butter flavoring and beta-carotene for color. They're making vegetable oil taste and look like butter through artificial flavoring and coloring. The product bears no resemblance to butter beyond the yellow color and vaguely buttery taste. What makes Flora Original the absolute worst is the decades of health marketing. Flora spent millions convincing Australians that margarine is healthier than butter because it contains polyunsaturated fats instead of saturated fats. That marketing was based on flawed science from the 1960s that has since been thoroughly debunked. The anti-saturated fat messaging Flora promoted contributed to Australians avoiding real butter and consuming industrial seed oils for generations. We now know that natural saturated fat from dairy isn't the villain it was made out to be. While industrial seed oils high in omega-6 fats promote inflammation and cardiovascular disease, Flora's marketing specifically targeted health-conscious people and those worried about heart disease. These people trusted Flora's claims and consumed vegetable oil, spread thinking they were protecting their hearts. They were actually consuming inflammatory oils with trans fats and emulsifiers that damage gut health. The portion sizes Flora recommends are deceptive. They calculate nutrition information based on tiny servings that nobody actually uses. Real consumption is 2 to 3 times the listed serving, which means the omega-6 content and trans fat exposure are much higher than the label suggests. Flora Original represents the worst of industrial food marketing, taking cheap ingredients, processing them heavily, then spending millions on marketing to convince consumers the product is healthier than the real food it's replacing. And it worked for decades until independent research revealed the truth about seed oils and trans fats. Here's what you need to understand about butter versus margarine. Real butter is cream that's been churned until the fat separates from the buttermilk. It contains milk fat, fat-soluble vitamins, and beneficial fatty acids including conjugated linoleic acid. The ingredient list is simple: cream, sometimes salt. Margarine and butter blends contain industrial seed oils, emulsifiers, preservatives, and artificial flavoring. These are engineered products designed to replace butter at lower cost while mimicking butter's appearance and taste. The health claims about lowering cholesterol or being heart healthy are based on outdated science and ignore the inflammatory effects of excess omega-6 oils. So what should you buy instead? Stop buying margarine and butter blends entirely. Real butter is available in every supermarket and provides actual nutrition without industrial processing. Here are brands actually worth your money. Number 1. Pepe Saya Cultured Butter. Pepe Saya is an artisanal butter maker based in New South Wales using traditional French butter-making methods. Their cultured butter is made from cream that's been fermented with live bacterial cultures before churning. This creates complex, tangy flavor and increases the beneficial fatty acids in the butter. The ingredient list is cream and salt. That's it. No oils, no emulsifiers, no preservatives. The butter is made in small batches from Australian cream, cultured for 24 hours, then churned and packaged. This is butter made the way butter should be made, preserving all the natural vitamins and beneficial fats. Pepe Saya cultured butter has a rich, complex flavor that cheap butter and margarine can't match. The culturing process develops depth and tanginess that makes this butter exceptional on bread or used in cooking. Once you've tasted cultured butter made properly, regular butter seems bland and margarine tastes like chemicals. Available at specialty grocers, farmers markets, and some Woolworth stores. More expensive than commercial butter, but the quality, flavor, and lack of processing make it worth every cent. If you want spreadable butter without adding oils, simply leave your butter dish on the counter. Butter keeps perfectly at room temperature for a week or more and stays soft enough to spread. This is how people managed before spreadable blends existed. Better yet, buy cultured butter like Pepe Saya for special occasions for everyday use. You'll never go back to margarine once you remember what real butter tastes like. And before we wrap up, there are other real butter brands worth buying that didn't make it into this video. If you want a part 2 where we break down more butter brands, let me know in the comments. If this video opened your eyes to margarine and butter blends, hit that subscribe button right now. Share this with everyone still using Flora or Meadow Lea thinking they're making healthy choices. Drop a comment below telling me which spread shocked you the most or if you're switching back to real butter. Together, we're going to stop buying industrial seed oils disguised as health food. Thanks for watching, and start eating real butter. Your gut health and taste buds will thank you.